Rubbing it's not gonna make it better.
It could.
No.
A little crackling noise.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's
too self-conscious now.
It should not crackle. Sad times, guys. End of an era.
A million voices cried out and were suddenly silenced.
There you go.
That's
Is that
a
a reference
Star
to
Wars
something?
quote.
There we go.
And the reason I'm quoting it
Go on.
is because Disney closed LucasArts, the Star Wars computer game company. It's been around since 1982, originally as Lucasfilm Games, which created such classics in addition to the Star Wars and Indiana Jones games.
I'll just be back in 15.
Like Grim Fandango and Monkey Island. But yeah, really, that's...
No, this is sad, but it's nostalgia sad, right? It's
well, and people got laid off. I mean, that's never a good thing.
Obviously, we don't want people to lose their jobs. Obviously, it's sad that a studio is out of work. But
do we want Star Wars 1313?
A lot of people want Star Wars 1313.
Really?
A lot of people want Battlefront 3. A lot of people were sort of semi-curious about First Assault, you know? 1313 was just kind of up in the air.
1313 just looks
What people wanted was they were like, oh my god, Disney now owns things. That means we're going to see, you know, Monkey Island getting released for iPad, or like, you know, Grim Fandango HD re-release.
But that's still, but here's the thing, that still could happen.
Yeah.
Because Disney does still own all of these things. They're just saying, we don't need an in-house team to make these games. And over the last few years, can you name something that you really loved that LucasArts made? Like really, really loved?
I can't think of anything ever. I mean, I'm not a huge adventure game person, so also just a lot of their earlier stuff was sort of before my time. But anything recent, it seems like they've just sort of mostly focused their efforts on making crappy Star Wars games.
I mean,
like, am I wrong?
No, I mean, no.
That's the thing, is
Like,
I
no.
can't argue with you.
Like, I want to.
The last Star Wars games to come out, aside from like KOTOR, which, you know, it's BioWare stuff, but there was Star Wars Connect, which was developed by those guys who did The Walking Dead Survival Instinct.
Yep.
And there was, I guess, The Old Republic, which was also BioWare. What else was
I'm
there?
really mad at you for just reminding me that Star Wars Connect was a thing. That
I'm honestly having trouble thinking. That's the thing, is there weren't any Star Wars games that people were excited about, really.
And that's why I'm like, this is nostalgia sad. This is nostalgia sad because I had so many favorite games like Full Throttle. I fucking love Full Throttle.
Yeah.
I played that nonstop. Obviously, like Monkey Island, the whole X-Wing TIE Fighter series was just unbelievable.
I mean, that's the thing. We're so used to licensed games being kind of inherently bad, but Star Wars licensed games were part of video game history. Like the Star Wars arcade game was brilliant. Then you had like, you know, Dark Forces came out like the year after Doom. Like it is up there with the pioneers of first-person shooters.
Jedi Knight, man. I played Jedi Knight multiplayer nonstop. You just replayed Fate of Atlantis. The Indiana Jones text, like not the text, the adventure game.
Everybody always, like, you know, waxes nostalgic for, you know, Monkey Island or for, you know, Full Throttle, Grim
Maniac
Fandango.
Mansion.
Yeah, exactly, those ones, Day of the Tentacle, Sam & Max. My favorite was always Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, because that was the one that I had as a kid. It was the only worthwhile game, it was the only memorable game that I could run on my crappy Macintosh Performa 575.
Do you remember, what was it? Was it the, it was almost the last puzzle. It was like a sunstone puzzle or something.
That's not
with
almost
like
the last
puzzle.
puzzle.
Are you spoiling?
That's actually really in the middle of the game. It's just stupidly hard.
Yeah, I think it was the end of the game for 9-year-old me.
We were playing.
I was just like, that's it.
That was my end of the game. Indiana Jones died in that cairn.
He eventually won, and everything was fine. And then I went outside and played because I couldn't solve that puzzle.
Well, so this doesn't mean that Star Wars is dead.
No.
I mean, like, I actually.
What are you, crazy?
I feel like this has.
I
feel like I'm always drunk. I feel like this has the potential to produce better Star Wars games, because now you don't have an in-house development team that's just doing it to just do it. You have a team that's hopefully coming and, you know, renting out the license or whatever to create a game that they've always wanted to create and something that they're really passionate about.
Disney can be hit and miss with licensing, but the one thing that you can say about Disney is they want to use every license that they have.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that I didn't feel like with LucasArts. Like, LucasArts sat on Monkey Island and did almost nothing with it. LucasArts has been sitting on Full Throttle. LucasArts just... Zach McCracken. Me and 3 other guys want it. But there are all
Zombies
these.
ate my neighbors.
They're all
Why amidst the deluge of zombie games have we not seen like an HD, iOS remake of Zombies Ate My Neighbors?
So whether it's good or
People
not,
would eat that up.
and I think all these games, any new game has the potential to be good. I want to see these licenses come back, and I feel like Disney has these guys. They have these guys that look through these binders, and they're like, "We own this, and we can make this much money on it. Why aren't we doing something with it?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really valid
Why
point.
didn't LucasArts do that though? If they had the potential to make money from
Because
it?
Lucas, I would say. I mean, I think that Star Wars was kind of. I mean, it's weird to say. Like, I think that Lucas was kind of out of touch with what his thing was doing, and he.
You think he was just like, oh, let's do everything Star Wars?
Well, you also said it yourself that the three Star Wars games that I really loved in the last few years, 2 were BioWare and 1 was Sega. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like the in-house team was the team that was making the stuff recently that we really loved.
Yeah,
which I don't like saying,
I don't
but,
know what they were doing. So I mean, I really can't exactly fault Disney for doing this. I just fault Disney. That's a good one. But I really, I mean, I hope that they do stuff. And we haven't really seen, what's going to happen. I mean, they bought Marvel, and nothing's really changed. I mean, the Avengers came out, and that worked. That was a big, dumb superhero movie. But it's like, we haven't seen what they're going to do, with Star Wars, with the license, with LucasArts.
And I think we should say that we don't. I don't think there was any lack of talent within LucasArts.
No.
I don't know if it was a mismanagement. I don't know if it was something where it just wasn't priority. But I don't think they were just living up to the potential of their stuff. That's all.
Well, I mean, 1313 and whatever else they were working on, it couldn't have looked all that fantastic if they just up and canceled the projects like in the middle of it. Because couldn't they have done something like transferred it to? Because they didn't fire everyone in the company, right? They fired 40 people, which was like.
Yeah. I've also heard that
was...
another thing to speculate about is because the prequels are kind of ancient history. I mean, they canceled the Clone Wars cartoon show, which a lot of people weren't happy about. I'm watching that right now, and it's a pretty good show.
Pretty good.
I think they're trying to move away from prequel territory, and they're trying to get people excited about stuff surrounding Episode 7. They're trying to go post Return of the Jedi.
Right. Sure.
And I think they're gonna
And I think one thing that I mean, you can argue this. I think there's a good argument against this, but Disney also doesn't like to oversaturate. Like they do that thing where they always put their movies in the Disney vault and certain characters go away for a little while. And I think you're just looking at Star Wars, and I think we all feel like over the last few years, Star Wars has just been extremely over-merchandised. Like extremely.
If you by the last few years, you mean the last couple
10
decades?
years, yeah. 10 to 15 years.
I love it, but that's part of the reason that I think I clung so much to the original trilogy. Like even aside from the prequel quality, aside from that, it's just there's such a deluge of it. You see so much of it, and it's sort of like you get tired of seeing something. And it's like when there's something that you sort of forgot about a little bit, it's like it's kind of nice.
I remember the excitement that I felt Episode 1, like waiting in line. Oh my God, Star Wars is coming back. And I just can't feel that way about Star Wars anymore.
No.
Like even the movies.
Yeah, and so when you have a whole in-house team and it's like, well, what we're working on is Star Wars. Okay.
Maybe we're gonna see some kind of awesome little phoenixes rise from the ashes here. I mean, look at Double Fine. Like Double Fine has a lot of LucasArts alumni. Tim Schafer was a QA tester on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah, until recently Ron Gilbert. And Ron Gilbert has gone. He's gone public so many times, just being like, even since the Disney buyout, just like, hey, I'd like Monkey Island back if you're not gonna do anything with it.
I've got $20.
Could I have that? And now there's this idea, I think, there's this possibility that since Disney was going to license everything out to third parties to develop, maybe Ron Gilbert could wind up working on a new Monkey Island game under another developer,
Considering, I don't know, John Lasseter running things in like Pixar, I feel like there's kind of there's some overlap between the sort of creative directions of people in those corners. I mean, you got Double Fine locally, you've got Tim Schafer doing creative stuff, and Lasseter, I remember when he sort of took the reins of Disney, he was like, okay, so those direct-to-video like Lion King 1.5 videos, those are gone. We're gonna try and scale this back, and he's been the one kind of, or at least as far as I know, they've been kind of getting the Studio Ghibli movies.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm kind of okay. Like, I mean, if the stuff we've seen in the last few years from Disney is like indicative of what to expect with the Lucasfilm purchase, it's like I'm not
That's really interesting because I think we do. because of like the late 80s, 90s, like all this, we have a tendency to think of LucasArts or Lucas in general as like the people who worry about quality control, and Disney as the people who just throw shit out there.
Right.
And that's kind of gone like this.
Yeah.
And now I would love to see it kind of level out.
Yeah.
You know?
What this probably means is we're probably going to see Star Wars characters in Disney Infinity.
I would fucking love that.
I mean, that means, you know, you can
Star Wars and Tron characters together in Disney Infinity.
Yeah. Yeah. That means I can get Deadpool and Boba Fett and Keira Knightley from Pirates of the Caribbean all hanging out in Andy's room from Toy Story for no
It's like
reason.
a Disney
My
gumbo.
fan fiction is coming to game as opposed to
Yeah,
life.
exactly.
It's just, but yeah. No, I mean,
It's exactly the way, like, that's exactly the way everybody used to play with action figures.
Yeah.
And that would be so cool to just have them all mixing together, you know?
I think Infinity is a great thing to keep an eye on because that is pretty much, from what I can tell, Disney being like, okay, we've been kind of trifling and kind of dicking around with our video game stuff. Let's sort of scale things, or let's calm down and let's make something pretty good. And let's put those Skylander fucks out of business.
Well, yeah, and I think it also has something to do with Kingdom Hearts was interesting. People really liked that. But man, there were a lot of people that really couldn't get into that. How do we make that for everyone? How do we let all the Disney characters hang out without alienating the people who don't want to see the bad Japanese hair characters?
Don't let the animes in.
Don't let the animes in
This
there.
is America.
Keep the animes out of there.
We want Luke Skywalkers, and we want Mickey Mouses, and we want Buzz Lightyears.
We don't want any Leonhards.
I want Captain America, I want Luke Skywalker, and no cloud stripes.
If you could see one LucasArts game come back, like tomorrow, if LucasArts game, it comes back, what would it be? Who would develop it?
You mean property or game? Like a proper
Property. Let's see
Property?
a property come back. Do you need property or game? Whoa.
That was a joke.
I would love to see a new Full Throttle. I would love to see Tim Schafer be able to make a new Full Throttle. Not a Brutal Legend,
Oh no.
a Full Throttle.
It'd be pretty cool.
I would also like to see Loom come back.
Oh God, Loom, good God.
I would love to see like the weird adventure games
I got
come
one.
back. Yeah?
I got one. I want to see Next Gen Outlaws.
Oh, dude, Outlaws.
Outlaws was the jam. I was playing Red Dead Redemption like last week, and the whole time I'm just sitting there like, where are you, Marshall?
Dude, Red Dead Redemption kind of is Next Gen Outlaws.
A little bit. I want to see, but I want that cell shaded thing. I
Yeah,
want that
for
to
sure.
come back, you know, that's a good game. But yeah, LucasArts, they made a lot of good games. It's kind of sad to see them go. So a toast to that.
Yeah.
Except we drank all our beer already.
Yeah, and I don't want to waste the last bit. I mean,
You don't have to pour it out. I just said a toast.
Oh.
This isn't Inglewood, Ingleside,
Just let
whatever.
me drink my beer.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Here's to Tara,
Who hasn't
who
seen
has
Star
no
Wars.
heart or soul, drinking her beer.
To me.